I think Darcell just wanted you here
to laugh,
so you could just crack him up.
Just to goof around.
Okay, we're ready. So if you've been listening, Ben, by the way, I only use your first name, so I don't want to expose people. If you don't want people to know who you are, I'm Ben.
Right, I'm Ben.
Ben. Only use people's first name. I play music at the beginning of each episode that I think is fitting for the episode. I know you were saying just a second ago that you were thinking it was the bait and switch. We're here to talk about white people.
Yeah. I gotta go.
It's not what you said, man. You told me we were going to talk about aliens.
Yeah.
So, Ben.
Yeah, about that.
Racism.
We're talking about illegal aliens.
I'm sorry. I should have been more prepared here. I like to just run and gun. I'm searching for my song. While I'm searching, welcome to the GripPodcast. I am your host, Matthew Sky Osborne. You can listen to the GripPodcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and you can follow on Instagram at the GripPodcast and Facebook, GripPodcast, and not on Twitter. So with that being said, yeah, we're going to talk about aliens. And your personal Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
I really thought it was going to be a gospel song. I was like, here it comes. It's like,
I so did as well.
Non-gospel music.
I feel like this was very fitting.
It is.
You seen the trailer for the new Men in Black?
Yes.
With
It's international.
yeah. Oh no!
Ellsworth.
Really?
Their chick. Or
Really, Darcell? You don't know?
Woman.
No.
You never gonna give it a chance?
No.
Why not?
Look like it's gonna suck.
Wow.
Certain movies you should not remake. Like they're remaking Pet Sematary. Come on. That's a classic.
I think they're just adding to it. I don't think they're like remaking it, like starting from the original. It's just like the international version.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll give it a shot. I mean, did you see Thor Ragnarok?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see that.
Yeah. So they just took those two and put them in another movie because I thought they did good in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I thought they had good chemistry.
I would agree.
Oh.
And did you even see in the trailer he throws a hammer at the alien?
I don't remember that.
They say go back and watch the trailer. He has a little hammer and he throws it at an alien.
Nice.
In the Men in Black trailer, so it's like a Thor.
Like ha
Yes.
hammers.
No.
I pick up on things like this.
That's because you're converting to a Marvel guy.
Nah, that's a stretch. Did you see that Black? I'm sorry, man. It's like I thought we were gonna stay away from this topic. That Black Panther was nominated for Best Picture.
Yes.
I did.
For the Oscars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I share your opinion.
That's interesting. What do you think? Yeah,
That was a great film.
I thought it was good.
it was a good
It was
movie.
a good movie.
Well,
I think it's. I
it
guess.
didn't live up to your Infinity Wars.
Well, you know me, I like a more heavy. Not to say that Black Panther didn't touch on heavy topics, but I like some men just want to watch the world burn. I need some darkness.
Talk like that the whole time.
Do not do that.
So, you want to know how I got these scars? See now they can't see, but now that I got the TV or the bed frame out of here, my immaculate, awesome podcast studio, guest room in my house, I can have TV on when I'm doing a podcast. I guess one might think that's distracting. But it does fill the gaps if we run out of things to talk about?
Just narrate what's going on.
Just look at the screen and start talking about what's going on. Okay. So Men in Black. Let me just let this rock for a second. Okay. So, I am excited to have you guys here. Ben, this is your first time. Thank you for traveling out here to damn near Arlington.
I'm excited to be here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Darcell, this is your third?
One of the two, I think. The second.
Third.
Let's go with second.
Second. I was supposed to have you on a week ago with your brother.
Yeah.
And then you canceled on me because,
That wasn't a week ago, but yeah.
you came up with some kind of bullshit lie. And
It wasn't. And he's mad that you didn't invite him to this.
to this one?
Yeah, just so you know.
Oh, well, I can't. 4 people's a little much.
He's mad at you. Just so you know.
He'll be okay.
Yes, he will.
He has several times invited me to do something, and then gone and done it without me. And I hope you're listening, Darna, because you know what I'm talking about. So I don't feel like I've done anything wrong. He's skipped out on me a few times. Done some things like, I thought we were supposed to go do this. He's like, well, Vegas. Okay. So how are you guys doing?
Doing alright, man. Long day. Glad it's Friday.
That's Friday.
Yes.
Um,
I'm tired.
Exhausted.
Yeah, both of your guys' energy's kind of low.
Dude.
Like when I don't say where we work ever. We all work in the same place, but I'll never speak of that place.
I have a baby that.
Oh yeah, how old is you? It's
like 3 months.
it's a little boy, right?
Yep.
Congratulations, man.
Mr. Thatcher. Yeah, man. He's good. We're still on that wakes up every 3 hour schedule, so.
How old is he?
He's 3 months.
3 months. Ah.
Yeah.
See that first?
He's fat too. He's always hungry.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, man.
That first year is what scares me from having another kid.
It's funny because like I have a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And so you think, having another one is just like riding a bike. And in essence, it really is. But you forget the fact of just how taxing and exhausting it is.
Yeah.
Because on top of that, like I'm trying to take care of my life, my business.
Mm-hmm.
And quite recently, I guess over the new year, new you.
Absolutely.
So I started running regularly. And so like last night, for example, I got off.
You found time to run?
Mm-hmm. I got off. I went home, ate some dinner, hung out with the family, and around like 9 o'clock at night, I just put on some shorts, hoodie, and went out for a 5-mile run.
5-mile run?
Yeah. And then I got home and I'm just like, I'm exhausted. And then
Did you run the whole time?
Yeah.
Shit.
I remind you, I'm not like keeping like record pace or anything. It's like me, it's just like, okay, it's a nice 12-minute jog, mile,
Yeah, you are the one. 5 miles?
Yeah, man.
I can't walk 2 miles.
It really, like, once you get beyond the first mile, you just kind of, it's just really keeping one foot in front of the other.
I just want to vomit.
And then it's like, 30 outside, so your legs get numb, you can't do anything but just,
Did you throw up afterward? Did you get nauseous?
No.
I think he's lying.
I like running. It's like I'm one of the freaks that just like I enjoy running. That's what clears.
It's like Casey Neistat.
Yeah, that's what kind of keeps my head clear. Is puts thoughts back in order. You're just going out, blaring some music, and to go for a jog. Thank you.
Yeah. I can't do that. So let's. Thanks for coming. Thanks for driving all the way out here. I do appreciate it. Hopefully you'll have a smoother ride, faster ride home because everybody
John.
go on.
Well, it seemed like it was opposite flow. Like everybody was trying to head home, so it was stuck.
They're heading
But
towards
everybody,
downtown.
yeah. But everybody, the other way was pretty light.
Okay, so let's keep it moving. I've been getting yelled at here a lot lately because my podcasts have been really long. Like my last episode was 2 hours, and actually Ben was one of the people who yelled at me. He's like, "Matt, what the fuck, man?"
First off, all I said was around 45 minutes. I expected it to be over, and I found out I was purely a third of the way. And I was like, and your guest was like, "Are we going to put this into 2 parts?" And you were like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna put it on 1 part."
Yeah, man, I'll give you a 9-course meal.
But then again, I guess when I listen to it, I normally just listen to my ride to work, so it's not like I need parts, you know. Just you just turn it off and turn it back on when you want to listen.
You just pause it, you know. You come pick up where you left off.
Right.
So I'm going to make an effort to try to keep these at 1 hour. So with that spirit, I'm going to go ahead and do my podcast playlist shuffle. This is a big hit with the fans. You know how this works.
I do know how it works.
You know how it works. What kind of phone do you have again? You got iPhone, right?
Yes.
iPhone, nice. Okay. So what you do is
I'm actually very worried about this because
I was embarrassed.
I make like a really like legit list and be like, oh man, like this guy listens to like the coolest thing.
No, it's kind of the whole point.
I never found the time to do it.
You know, just you go to a personal playlist and you hit shuffle, and what comes up, and something legit or something cool or something really corny comes up, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like men listening to Taylor Swift. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing, you know, just...
Well, it's mainly like, I was like, okay, I'm choosing my running, the one that I made for running, which I don't use all the time, because normally I just go to like my Apple Music and I type in running and find some sort of playlist that's already been generated. But I made one, but it consists of like cheesy praise and worship songs.
Okay.
It has some gospel in there. It has
religious, man.
Like EDM in there. Like it's just like a random bit of like everything that I enjoy. Just kind of has a upbeat to it.
Okay.
So I was like, I guess I'm gonna choose that one. But I'm afraid I'm gonna get like the cheesy praise and worship.
That's okay.
Of course he would listen to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and dig in and do my shuffle. I'm actually okay with this.
I'm too okay.
This is Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates. Private Eyes. It's got a great melody, man.
It's just catchy, you know? Gonna bounce. And Darcell's enjoying
Look
it.
at that mustache. Come on, Darcell, don't look at me like that.
This is awesome.
Black people can listen to anything.
We can. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Unless you want to let that whole song play. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Private Eyes.
How do you do random?
What is your
You just hit shuffle?
what do you want? What's your service? What are you using?
Apple Music.
Yeah, just hit shuffle. Just go to anything and hit shuffle, and whatever comes up comes up. And we're hot and ready to go, man.
Yeah. Cheesy prison.
He didn't even cheat. What we got? I want him to. Did I hear anything? Is the volume turned up?
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
hair shuffle.
That was my bad. Who is this? Give us some
MercyMe?
information.
I can only imagine.
You said you run to this?
Mm-hmm.
This is like inspirational, like music.
It is.
Like Rudy.
It really is. I mean, I also have gospel on there too, which is like my favorite brand because that's normally really peppy. And yeah, it's just I don't know what it is. It's very.
Do you feel real inspired when
inspiring.
you're running to this?
It really, I don't know what it is, but it's just one of those where it's just like, it's not like, yeah, go Jesus, you know, I'm gonna, like, Jesus is gonna get me through this next mile, you know? But it's like, it's just, you know, it's like a very powerful song, I would say. Like, it invokes some sort of like emotion, which then keeps me going along.
Are you a real spiritual fellow? Like, do you feel that like in your soul? Like, does it, do you feel something special on the inside?
Yes.
I
we call him the Holy Spirit.
The Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit. I can see that.
Yeah, it's. I guess the background of it all. Like, I grew up in religion. I would say, like most people do.
Okay.
And then once I kind of got my own car around 16, my parents gave me the liberty of, choose your own church, but go to church. And then once I got out of their house and got my freedom of sleeping in on Sunday, I quit going. And then I don't know, it was just one of those, like, I didn't really like do anything wild and crazy. I just lived a normal life, just kind of a lazy, unfulfilling. And I always felt like something was missing. I don't know if it was just because of like my upbringing or what it was, but you get to a point where as an adult you make a conscious decision whether you do or do not believe. And many moons ago I just made the decision that it's like, because it's one of those where you can't just be on the fence about it. You either do or you don't.
Okay.
And so, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of did it and chose that I do.
Okay. I'm with it. Very inspirational words from Ben. There we go. I'm gonna fade that out. All right, Darcell.
I don't know if I want to follow up.
You ready You ready to blacken up this podcast?
Okay, it just scared me. Like, okay, I don't want to try something.
Shall we practice?
Everybody. Hold hands.
Could be from R. Kelly. Yeah.
No, you haven't removed R. Kelly from the playlist.
That was a joke.
You know what, man? If he comes on, I think with the rules, we gotta let it rock. I would hope that. Oh, come on, man. Come on, man.
I hit shuffle. This is what they.
You're just making us look bad now.
This is what.
Did you hear about that Sundance movie with Mr. Jackson?
Sundance movie. Which one?
Yeah, Sundance Film Festival. I said that weird, but I guess there's a movie coming out where it's like I forgot the name of it. I think it's called like Leaving Neverland, and it's about like this. And I guess the big news around it is like thousands of Michael Jackson fans are like protesting this movie because basically the whole movie's about. It's like a documentary of like this 7 and 10-year-old boy that apparently had relations with Mr. Jackson. And that's what the whole movie's about. So like they're putting like extra security and all this stuff. Like people are trying to riot. That essentially refusing to allow this movie to be played.
I did not hear anything of it.
I got strong opinions about that, but I don't have time to share it.
Not to. What's a great song? Not to ruin the mood.
It's okay.
Just curious, because you guys tend to be in more pop culture. This guy.
Sure.
I feel like you would know.
It's a good song. We went to the Michael Jackson show in Vegas.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Best show ever.
It wasn't bad.
You're not a Michael Jackson fan like
No. Just because I didn't.
We're on 2 different levels.
No.
I didn't mean to hate. I apologize.
But I love it.
That doesn't. Listen.
Yeah.
You enjoy Michael the way you enjoy Michael. Just because I didn't enjoy the show as much as you did, doesn't mean I'm any less of a Michael Jackson fan than you.
That's exactly what I mean.
Okay.
Church. It was a good show. I just thought it was missing Michael. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, where's Mike? It's just these people singing about Mike, and then, you had the hologram, which, when I heard about the hologram, I was kind of upset because I didn't know, if I understand correctly, it was just like a video from him that they made into a hologram. Like, it wasn't like they were taking liberties and having Michael do things that he didn't do while he was alive. Like, having him look at the crowd and waving. Like, no, he didn't do that. I'm sure he looked at the crowd and waved some point in time. Okay, but
At least once.
Just don't make him do things that he didn't do. Was my...
But he didn't.
He did.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It was just like a video that they just took, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was good.
This is actually my second favorite song in the world.
Yeah.
My first favorite song in the whole world. I'm just gonna do this real quick, and then we can get into the shits. We can make some people uncomfortable. My first. Okay, and you say I'm not a Michael Jackson fan. Hold on. My favorite song in the whole wide world.
Scream.
Absolutely. I love this song. I can't tell you why.
Yeah,
I just do.
Yeah, why?
It's just good, man. Like, I'm a music guy, so like, I'm like listening to the melodies and like picking apart things, and I'm like, there's parts of the track where he's using his voice as an instrument, which singers obviously do a lot. But like, we're gonna get here in just a second. I'll tell you what I mean. It's just stuff that I don't hear singers do today, and I heard Mike do it, and I'm like, he's doing it right now in the background. Just to, you would think it was an instrument, but it's his voice.
Yeah, that's what I'm singing.
Of course, Matt. Everybody knows that. You're not unique or special.
You don't know that. See, he did his own background.
That's what I'm saying, man. Mike. Okay.
That's the separation between a true fan
Right.
You know, yeah.
and a poser.
I know when he's using his voice as an instrument. You don't.
It's obvious to me.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. Oop, sorry. Okay, so let's get into it. I can see you guys are chomping at the bit. I actually had some questions. I don't know if you heard. You did for sure. I let my last guest. I gave her a sneak peek of like, we're gonna talk about God and aliens.
Spoiler.
Yeah, and she was like, I lost her.
Yeah.
And Leah, if you're listening, I'm sorry. She said she would listen to this episode. I'm going to quiz her and see if she really did. Yeah, I'm not just, I'm layered. There's layers here, man. There's lots of layers. I'm not just, civil rights guy, racial issues guy. I'm DC Comics. I'm Alien. There's a lot going on, man. You can't make people are not one dimensional. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of layers. Like an onion. And one of the things that I've wrestled with, and it might sound funny because every time I say it, people actually start laughing. I don't know if that's an uncomfortable laughter or if it's genuinely funny to them. But this is how I'll start this off is I think you actually came to me with the idea for this episode. But I've always had the question, well, not always, but for some time, I'm like, okay, so how do you define an alien? And I don't look it up. You just look it up if you're listening, if you really want to know what the technical definition is. But I'm like, okay, if it's another life form, not of Earth or whatever, wouldn't God technically be an alien? And that's going to be the title of this episode, is God an alien? And then I'm sure we'll actually go into some other ideas. But I ask that question a lot, and I'm not quite sure where I come out of it and what I think about that. I do think it might possibly be true. I don't know. But I'm not afraid to have these kind of conversations. I am a critical thinker. I'm always challenging authority. I'm always challenging what the belief is, the popular belief of a thing at a time, because I want to know more things. And so I used to be scared to ask questions because I also, and I think we should all do this so they all know where we're coming from. I did grow up religious. I grew up Christian, Pentecostal. I went to World Harvest Church growing up in Columbus, Ohio. The pastor was Rob Parsley, and my whole existence was the Bible, and the Bible was truth and fact, God, Jesus, and nothing else existed outside of that. And there was a point, in my life where I began to challenge that, and the more I challenged that, obviously I got, exiled from the church.
As well you should.
for questioning, for having questions.
Sure.
And like for example, one of the questions I would have is I'm like, okay, so if God created everything, did he also create the bad stuff? Well, no, you can't. Well, wait a minute. I mean, I was like, I can't even talk about stuff like that. And, the way my mind works is I want to explore those kind of conversations and those thoughts. And then I would also have questions like, nobody's ever technically seen God, but every time you hear about God manifesting himself, it's always in human form. A dude.
Yeah.
From my perspective.
Yeah. I mean, you have like the burning bush. Right?
Oh, you're correct. Burning bush. Okay, so burning bush.
But I guess even from the bush was a voice, and that's primarily it was
a man's voice.
Either a person or a voice. Yeah.
Right. So I've always been skeptical of men claiming to be God or claiming to be speaking for God. That makes me cautious and skeptical. I'm like, I don't know about that. So that's just a little peek into my upbringing. And where I am now is I do believe in God. I would say I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. I don't go to church. I don't pray per se. I believe I just talk to God, and I guess some people would say that is praying. I talk to God. I have faith in God. I have hope. I don't know if I believe in heaven or hell. I don't know if I believe there's anything after this. I hope there is something after this. I do hope that bad people in life get what's coming to them in the afterlife, if there is that. So I don't have all the answers, Sway. But I'm exploring. So that's who I am and where I'm at. So I think you guys should maybe let them know where you're at, so then we can, talk. I'm gonna check the camera.
All right. Well, I kind of went into it earlier. I guess when we were listening to my music. But basically grew up Christian. I consider myself to be Christian. I don't regularly attend church, to kind of add on to what was previously said. I don't regularly attend church, but I do pray pretty much every single day. I do believe in a heaven and hell. I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I pay attention. I read my Bible. I look up, whenever I have a question that doesn't make sense or anything like that, like I try to find like a valid answer. That's more like religious based. I would say that I try to conduct myself as a person along with my faith. But where I kind of find myself differing from the pack is I'm not one for condemnation of telling people what they should or should not do. I feel like that's not in the, like my I guess overall the occupation is to, once you believe, is to share the information, to, give you, specifically you, to give you what I know, and convey it, and, and basically convey myself as that person. But by no means am I supposed to hear and tell you what you're supposed to be doing, right or wrong, and, limit you. That's your choice. It's not mine, right?
Why do you think, and maybe this is me projecting somewhat, I don't know, but a lot of my experience with Christians have not been that.
Correct.
It's been our way is the only way, and I don't want to hear anything else, anything else you have to say.
Sure.
So how is it that how did you arrive at that, where you're accepting of?
Well, at one point it just didn't make sense. It's like, I grew up where we had a youth pastor that was trying to ban Harry Potter. Like, I grew up in one of those towns.
Yeah.
Where, like, our youth pastor was advocating against the schools having Harry Potter in their school library.
Yeah.
And so it just seemed like there was a lot of like anger and hate, I guess a lot of aggression, and it didn't quite make sense because most of the time, I guess you hear in the New Testament or like the newer side of post-Jesus era is the fact that like he teaches, I guess I should lean closer. He teaches about love and mercy and grace and all these like wonderful things and how we're supposed to treat each other, treat others like you would treat yourself, and then on the other side of that is just like love God and treat people with respect in general.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense that it's like you have all this, animosity and this like, of course you have Westboro Baptist Church out there, with the God hates, those people. Mm-hmm. And like first off, if my obligation is to essentially convey the love of God or love of Jesus, you think that person is really going to be that accepting of my word or the word? Mm-hmm. If I'm sitting here telling them like you're going to burn in hell unless you do all the instructions that I have for you, it doesn't make sense. So it's like you just have to make the conscious effort of portraying that the version of the religion that just makes sense to me. Yeah. Like it makes sense to be kind because everybody says like Jesus himself, what did he surround himself with? Not these top officials or anything. Like they were fishermen, they were tax guys, they were female workers,
hookers.
Yeah. Right. And like these are the people that God, like Jesus himself, associated himself with. That's who he was with. And yet I am supposed to not like tell these people that you're supposed to show these people compassion and love, and not just those specific types but everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's why like when I convey myself, I always try to be, obviously I'm not always happy, but that's typically what people see, is because you don't get a lot of that anymore.
No, you don't.
And so yeah, it's just it's really, at times it's a conscious effort because if I have a bad day, but I feel like I've gotten to a point where like I try to be as positive and just like I joke around, goof around, try and make people at least smile when I walk by. And that's because I guess with my faith and my belief, that's how I believe it's supposed to be done. You're supposed to bring joy and not condemnation.
Yeah. And hold on for a second here, Darcell. Sure. I'm still sorry about that.
We're still talking about you.
So I've never been able to. I don't want to say I've been trying to figure you out, but I generally, when you interact with people and where you work, you kind of get a feel for them. And I guess I want to say for the longest time, I could never get an exact feel for you.
A read.
Yeah. Which is weird because, like it's like you were saying, I'd say most of the time you're always at this like level, this constant like level, just response to everything. You're always just like, hey guys, what's up? It's almost like you're high all the time or something. I'm not. Yes, I know you're not.
That's who I normally tell.
But it's just always like, hey guys, what's up? And the funny thing about it for me was, if I can articulate this properly, from a lot of people, I would perceive that as bullshit. But when you do it, for whatever reason, I'm like, there's something else behind that. And I don't know what it is, and I can't put my finger on it, but I'm like, what he's giving me, I think there's more to it because I think people's eyes are the window of their soul. I think I've heard that. And unfortunately, when you do look at some people, in my experience, there's not a lot going on with some people behind the eyes. And I guess maybe it was your eyes that kind of gave you away, where I was like, I don't believe you. Meaning, like, not saying that you were putting on the show, but like, I just knew there was more going on, and I didn't know what it was. And the more I talk to you, the more I get to know you, the layers start to, unfold. Not sure why I said all that.
Nice.
Just to maybe reference how you talked about being so
verbal hugs. I love it.
So level with everything. So now I know right here on this podcast, like you said, you're doing, that's a conscious effort. You're doing that.
Well, I mean,
that's part of
at times that it is. I mean, overall, I try to be dependable, reliable. Be the person that I would expect others to be.
Yeah.
Most of the time, like I just like to goof around. Especially where we work. It's just someone needs a smile, so I'm willing to just come out there and just goof around and just do that moment. But as much as I do, kind of like put the jester hat on. We've had moments where it's like, like we've had an actual conversation.
And that's tricky.
Not like sarcastic. I mean, it has like peppering of sarcasm in there. But for the most part, we've had an actual conversation.
Yeah.
And you've got to, I've got to express the fact that it's like, I'm not just like a joke, And I really do am interested in, what you do, things you do, and kind of like mention. And that's why like I intentionally like listen to a podcast and then I'll bring up, what I feel or what I've said about it, just to prove the fact it's like, this guy listens to my podcast, and I was like, he's gonna get that impression because that's just like a weird thing. Like, who does that? Who's obsessed with another guy? I'm obsessed.
Have you had that experience with them? Where like it's so like you said, we know you this way, and so like we'll all be out, and we'll pass each other like in the hallway or something, and you'll do your thing. And I'm like, it's big. He's doing his thing. But then you'll drop something about the podcast where it'll almost be like a verbal, hang on, I'm not done.
Right.
There's something else here. And you do that. And I'm like, oh, wait, what? And I'm like, aha! I knew there was something going on there. So, whatever. Okay.
I just try to be genuine. That's it. Put a smile on people's face. Be honest.
Yeah.
Call me on my bullshit.
All right, Darcell, who are you?
He's
Go!
A handsome man.
See, don't start it. All right, so I like you guys grew up in the church. Me and my twin, I can talk about him, right? Me and my twin.
First name?
Darnell. Okay.
Who's apparently mad at me right now.
Yes, who's mad at that. Our grandfather used to take us to church all the time before he passed. What I mean all the time, it's like Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, like all the time. So,
ew. No, I'm kidding.
But he passed away when we were about 10.
Oh.
So after that...
Joke about that. That's pretty funny.
After that, we really, I wouldn't say... We didn't have opportunities to go to church as much.
Okay.
So, not until I became like a teenager, we got back into going to church because, we were 16, we could drive then, So, plus I met a girl that was a pastor's daughter.
Oh.
So, got back into church.
There it is.
Right there.
Oh. But, later on in life, like my brother, he's very heavy, like yourself, in the church, into faith.
Like I'm
No.
I'm not heavy.
Just heavy in religion, going to church all the time. He actually got baptized again probably 6 years ago, which I was very proud of him about. Mm-hmm. Me, I'm more spiritual based, like, because I really haven't been to a church probably in about 8-9 years.
Okay. I've been about 20.
So it's been a while. But like I said, my spiritual base, I read the Bible often. I like to get my own understanding of the Bible. I don't necessarily believe someone has to tell you and you have to believe what they're saying. Mm-hmm. I like to just get the understanding and meaning for my own purpose.
Okay.
That's just how I am. Plus, I've been to several churches where it was more money based. Like, you have an ATM machine right when you walk in. That's kind of
an ATM machine in the church is very suspect.
In case you forget.
Yeah.
Like I went to a church where it's like, you can just swipe your card.
Yeah,
like,
that's so that just rubs me the wrong way.
It's for convenience, okay? We're in the 21st century.
Right.
You can't knock it.
It's just to me. It's like,
they're passing an offering bucket around. It's just it's a square
Yeah.
Swipe your card.
But like I said, yes,
20%.
definitely very spiritual. You know, I do believe there is a God. After that, things get a little murky for me, like, because I understand the Bible says one thing, but you want to get your own interpretation of it.
Yeah.
But then, like I told you the other day, I would be interested to find out what actual religion was Africans before slavery. Because I don't know if a lot of people even know. I don't know what their belief was in.
Yeah, and not to get too heavy into this, because that wasn't my intention with this episode, because I've been doing a lot of that here lately.
Yeah, you're not bashing or anything.
But, you know, that's one of the reasons, and again, I don't mean to offend anybody. That's not my intention. It's just, you know, everybody has their own path and their own journey. But that's one of the reasons I'm not a Christian, is because, you know, Christianity is the religion that enslaved African Americans. It was done under the Christian religion, under the Christian faith. And I don't believe that was, like you were saying, that was our religion. We don't really know what our religion was. Like, I did a little bit of research, and I thought it was something like an offshoot of like Judaism and something else. But like, I think Islam and something else broke off from whatever that original thing was. And then you have these other religions. But something, if I can make a point here, something that I think is interesting about religion, generally speaking, from my perspective, is I haven't had this thought recently, but a few years ago, where I was like, it's funny because I'm like, it seems like everybody's talking about the same thing, but like different ways.
Sure.
It's like, it's almost like everybody's trying to interpret God or a higher being.
Sure.
They do it this way. They do it this way. This is Muhammad, Jesus, you know, Buddha. You know, they don't seem to stray really far. And from like I said, from my perspective, I am not well versed in this. I am not studied in religions, you know, so I can't talk to you intelligently about the details. But is that something you guys have noticed, or is that just me?
Sure. I mean, overall, you have like the basic framework of, you know, do good thing will happen at the end of the life.
Yeah.
Do bad thing happens at end of life.
So what do you think about that? Do you think, and you don't have to answer this if you're not comfortable answering this.
I'm fine.
Everybody's like, their religion is the religion.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's the way that it's proposed.
Mm-hmm.
Is you kind of, I guess, primarily with Christianity, since that's where, you know, we are all based. It's you know, it even says in the Bible, I am the way, the truth, and life. Nobody comes to the Father but by me.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, so you're not given any ability to entertain any other option, because the only way is through Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to then propose, like, you know, what's this Buddha? What's this guy all about, you know?
Yeah.
And you kind of get into that. Well, that kind of deviates from, well, you know, this is another way to get to, you know, heaven. But it deviates from you're not now believing in Jesus, you're believing in works or good things that you can do, or, you know, I don't know about Buddhism, so this could be just like all over the place. But I guess with most of the time, it's like the religion itself is you do your framework, because if you deviate from that path, then you don't get to where you're going,
right,
or want to be. So
do you guys think that if you believe in God, do you think that, let's say, just go with me here, let's say Buddhism was the one true religion,
sure,
and you get to the end and you meet God, and you spent your whole life, you know, working and doing Christianity, and let's say you've been you've been a Muslim. Do you guys think that God would look at you and be like, no, you don't get to come in?
I don't know, because it's I guess most of the other ones, from my understanding, is you do it through like goodwill, good works, right? So even within the religion of Christianity, you're still doing what you're technically supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. You're just focusing on like a different path, But at the end of the day, like, you're still doing good works. You're being some are doing good works and good things, right?
Right.
So it's like you're kind of running in tandem with the requirements for the other. Kind of like if you're in college, you take all the core and then you can deviate from there. But
right.
So
are you saying that you don't think you would be rejected?
Well, and that's a hard one to answer because like, I guess, like I said earlier, like, I fully believe my way, right?
Right.
So it's like, no, I wouldn't say that, like, you would be like, try again.
Yeah.
I think that if they're all on their own path, but they're all preaching variations of the same thing, I don't see him saying, no, you can't get in, you can get in. If you all did good your own way, I think everybody will be okay.
Okay.
That's my thought process.
If heaven, if you will, is a actual place, do you think a non-Christian could get into heaven?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunate circumstance.
What do you think?
Well, why do you think that?
Because it's biblical.
Like he said, he believes
like you have to.
His belief, his religion is is that what I understood?
Yes.
You believe that's it.
Correct.
So he would have to believe that.
Like, I am open to allow anybody to believe whatever they want to believe. That's fine. Mm-hmm. And I'm not on here, or I guess on here, this earthly plane that we're on, to preach the fact of, like, turn or burn, baby, But at the end of the day, it's like those are kind of like set rules at the end of the game, right? And the way to play the game is you go one way or the other. There's no deviation from that.
Darcell, do you not believe that?
I don't. And that's where
you have a
I would
question?
say I'm more spiritual versus religious because of my mindset is, okay, say the people come knock on your door.
Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, Jehovah's Witness. And they have their own set beliefs and believe, what they believe. Who says their belief is wrong? I believe
Christianity.
Right. I know it says they're wrong, but it doesn't mean at the end of the day their version, because nobody knows what happens when you die, right?
I
believe you do.
Right. I do.
You believe you do. Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's.
I don't know.
I'm saying, like, something that's been actually proven. Like, I understand.
There's no
hard
evidence. Of course, you have, like, those moments where, like, people experience, like, a life after death, like, experience where it's like bright light and, like, feelings of lost loved ones and peace and all this stuff, and that's what they're essentially equating to what heaven would be. But yeah, unless you die and you end up at the gates, there's zero way of telling.
Right. And what I'm saying is, a Christian can have that same experience as a Muslim. Someone, any religion should be able to have an experience like that. But it doesn't mean, just because you believe this, if you don't believe what I believe, I don't think you'll get into heaven. I just don't think like that. That's just me personally.
Okay.
I think if everybody's, goodwill, do good towards one another, everybody be let in.
Okay.
If you believe that, that's just me.
Okay. And I like I was saying, I like being able to quickly think about things and have these kind of conversations because they're real interesting to me. And so, let me give you my answer. I would go as far as to say I personally believe, because this goes back to some of the issues I had when I was dealing with my own personal belief in God and Christianity when I was in my teens, was that the way I understood God was God is, was it all-knowing, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnipresent, what are they? It's,
it's all-knowing everywhere and...
Right.
I don't know. There's a third one.
There's something else. Because I grew up in the Christian faith, so I know, I used to know a lot about it. And so I'm like, okay, if God is all these things, it seems hard for me personally to believe that there would be limits to, or not even limits, conditions. Because I think there's somewhere in the Bible where it says his love is unconditional.
Sure.
So if it's unconditional, how could there be conditions?
So there isn't conditions to the love. It's basically,
so you're saying he could love you even though you're in hell?
Correct. It's just, I mean, you got to kind of think like a parent-child situation, right?
Okay.
And like you have a child that does these horrific things,
right?
But then you have the parent on top of that, that's their child, and they can't excuse those actions. But at the very end of the day, they are still like, this is still my son, or daughter, I still love them, and they're just trying to process the information. But at the end of the day, it's like that compassion, that love is still there. Mm-hmm. The only thing is, it's really like the ball is in your court. He can't make the decision God can't make that decision for you. Mm-hmm. So that's why, and I feel like I sound like an a-hole, but like at the end of the day, it's like, those are just the way the rules are. And it's kind of like, I guess it's unfortunate because, I mean, it really would be nice for you do your thing and you get to go where you're going.
Right.
And I do my thing. But for that to take place, I couldn't believe what I believe. Because within the belief itself, it's like, this is the only way to go. There's no other option. And so, and that's, again, it's like, no man comes to the Father but by me. Like, that's the rule. But the choice is left up to you. Mm-hmm. And so, it's like you can do all these great things. You can be a wonderful person. But at the very end of the day, you still have a choice, whether you do or you don't.
Okay.
And that's where the consequence comes if you do or don't. But you still get to make that choice.
Okay. So we could probably talk about this for a while. Mm-hmm. I want to kind of get to my next question or point here, if I can. Do you think God plays golf?
I know he bowls.
You think he bowls?
Yes.
Okay.
That's when thunder and lightning, when it storms, that's him bowling.
Okay. What do you think?
I don't know.
Okay.
He doesn't seem like a golf guy to me.
So another question. Do you think he's a guy? Because me and you briefly touched on this. Remember when you were at my desk the other day?
Sure, right.
And I was like, hold on, don't talk about it yet.
Right. So at the end of the day, I want to say like most of the pronouns used in like the biblical language makes it a he. Mm-hmm. But I would say, of course, you have the Trinity, right? So the Trinity is God the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Well, two of those, Father and Son, obviously male, right? Mm-hmm. So the Holy Spirit, does that have a gender?
Not that I know of.
Right. So 2 out of 3 are definitely. Holy Spirit, we don't know.
Okay. I asked the question if you think God golfs because this was one of the challenges I had when I was kind of going through my journey, was trying to understand what God is, what God could be, and what I arrived at ultimately was no limits. And being able to, what's the word? How do I even articulate this? I see it, if you will, and this is where I can start really stepping on people's toes. I could see God, if you will, being a life form from another planet. and how I arrived at that is this. Let me ask you guys this question. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Do you believe in spirits?
Yes.
Do you think there's a difference? Or you think it's the same thing?
No. I would say the same.
Yeah,
same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe in angels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Angels, demons, right?
Yeah, demons. Yeah, okay. So,
It's a bait and switch, man.
He said, "Here it comes."
Oh, you said you believe in angels, demons, huh? Okay.
So, my understanding is like back in the day, people would look at the sun and think the sun was God. Have you ever heard this?
Wasn't it Ra or something?
Something like that. Yeah. You know, they would see this fire and they're like, "That's God." You know, like, nah, it's just a star. You know, but they didn't know that at the time, and so I don't have a lot of faith in humans' ability to interpret what we see and feel.
Sure.
That's one of my biggest issues with God, if you will. I don't trust humans to interpret. I don't think we're smart enough. I've seen that we do too many stupid things, in my opinion, to accurately interpret God or a higher being, if you will. I don't think we're that smart. And one of the things I think of with this is Neil deGrasse Tyson. You guys familiar with him?
Yes.
Okay. He tells a story about DNA. And he says the difference between a human and a monkey's DNA is 1%. And in that 1%, you get a huge amount of things. You get reading, writing, math, arithmetic. You get space travel. You know, you get a lot of things in that 1%. So imagine if there was a being out there that was 1% different than us in their DNA. When was the last time you tried to talk to a monkey? You didn't.
Sure. Because
you couldn't. Imagine if there's a life form out there that's 5% more different in their DNA. 10. 100. We couldn't even talk to them.
Right.
He talks about it as trying to talk to an earthworm. You can't do it.
Sure.
So this is where we get off into my alien talk and ideas. Is I don't know that human beings are intelligent enough, in my personal belief and opinion, to interpret things beyond our understanding. And I would say God is something beyond our understanding.
I would agree.
I would say we couldn't even, like, we think of things linear. We think beginning, end, middle, this way. This is how we think. You know, our life begins, our life ends. We think of things linear.
Sure.
You know, I've heard people suggest that God thinks of things circular.
Right. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to think like, okay, so God in his existence, I guess in just the simplest fact of, has never had a beginning and will never have an end.
How
right?
is that possible?
Exactly. So, like, I guess we're kind of stuck within the realm of, I mean, obviously we can do like projections and kind of map things out, but it's still, everything has to be tangible and explainable within a certain amount of, like with like physics and stuff, right?
Right.
So it's like, that's kind of like where we're stuck, is we can only see it within like this certain box. And it's like, you know, like how do you have a God that is essentially outside of this box? Like he's not bound by the same requirements or anything that can be measured within this paradigm or this box that we're in, right?
Right.
And so, and that's the thing that it really kind of warps your mind, is like, can you imagine something that doesn't have a beginning, right? Because everything in existence,
how does it begin?
Exactly. Everything has a beginning. Even, you know, even if the, you know, for the non-believers, they believe, you know, the whole Big Bang, right?
Right.
Like that at least was a start to something. But God doesn't have one of those. Like he's always ever been.
Right.
And it's like, at what point in your forever existence did you think, you know, it'd be great humanity? That'd be a fantastic, or at least, you know, creates the angels. And yes.
I'm sorry, podcaster. That's my son. He just came in.
I have never met him, but he's my best friend. So
he's like, no, God, I don't agree with you.
But yeah, it's like, that's the kind of thing that's just like, you know, like everything has always had a beginning. So how do you have the concept of something that just, in general, there is no start. And then at what point through your forever did you decide, like, let's go ahead and start just making things, right? Because assume that you're like a lonely person. Well, you've been alone for literally like infinite amount of time, like an unconceptual amount of time,
right?
Because you've never started.
Right.
So it's like that's the kind of things that's like you just don't get because we're
humans.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of Is God an Alien? I'm breaking this up into 2 parts because people have been yelling at me about my podcast episodes being too long. So I'm going to break this up into 2 parts, and part 2 will be out next Sunday, which is, still going to be, it's going to be actually February 2nd. So it will be next month. Just a week away. Hope you enjoyed it, and please come back and listen to the second part, and share this episode with your friends and family. Keep the conversation going. Talk to me on social media, Instagram, YouTube.